Absolute banger of an episode here. I hopped on with Matt Cuzzy and Sam Olber, host of Locked On Cubs. My first time on the show. And we talked about the trade deadline pickups for the Cubs, some of the pitching prospects they got from their trades, not trading Willson Contreras and Ian Happ, surprisingly. And then some deep players to watch in the system and overall impressions of the club. And we had a really good conversation about what the Cubs' philosophy is behind finding pitchers and what specifically they're trying to do. So really interesting conversation. I think you're going to enjoy.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into a special edition of Locked On Cubs with Locked On MLB Prospects. He sounds like the South. Lindsey Crosby is with us for this Wednesday episode. We're very excited to have him, as always, on our side alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. A lot is not happening with the Cubs at the big league level this season, but certainly a lot to look forward to on the prospect side. And so we bring in Lindsey to do that today. How's it going by you? And welcome to the show.
I am thrilled to be here. It is my first time on the show. I think I fit a y'all in the first 30 seconds. That wasn't on purpose, but I'll take it. Yeah. And excited to just talk about some of these guys you have in a farm system that very much knows what it's doing and has a plan. And that's not something I can say about everybody. So excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. And last Tuesday at the deadline, Lindsey, the Cubs made less trades than Cubs fans expected, but got 3 pitchers in return. Hayden Wesneski, Ben Brown, and Saul Gonzalez from the Yankees, Phillies, and Mets, respectively. Let's start at the top because Scott Effross was a surprising trade with 5 years left to control, having a good big league season as a reliever. But the Cubs get a starter back who projects to compete for a 23 spot.
Yeah, I'm not as concerned about trading a young reliever simply because you've shown the ability to create relievers and to develop pitchers. Now, I'll get into that more in the second segment, but Hayden Wesneski was probably my second favorite Yankees pitching prospect in that system, right behind lefty Ken Waldachuk. And the big thing here is, so one, good size, 6'3", 210. He has a good body where you can realistically expect him to carry his velocity deep into games. And when you go back and you look at what he did this year in Scranton Wilkes Barre in AAA, the strikeout stuff wasn't as good as it's been in the past. I think he struck out 8.2 guys per 9 innings, but he didn't walk a lot of guys, which was something that he struggled with at the end of 2021. And when you look at the overall tools, fastball is the carrying pitch, 70 grade. He actually throws both a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer. 4-seamer sits mid-90s. He can hit 99 with it. It's got a ton of like heavy late life to it. And then he has that classic Yankees sweepy slider. And both of the traits of those two pitches, the fastball and the slider, are very much the reason why you went out and got him. It matches a lot of what the pitching development is looking to do with the pitchers in this system. So you have those weapons already. So he has the characteristics you like. And then to add in a curveball that's kind of slurvy and, again, has really good vertical and horizontal break, and I think can be a plus pitch. You're looking at 3 plus pitches. The fastball's almost double plus, and then a changeup that can get to average. You've got a number. The prospect apparatus says number 4, number 5. I think he could be a number 3 with a little more refinement of that changeup.
Lindsey, you mentioned the sweeping slider and the high velo fastball, and this is a little bit more of a general question, but it seems like Ben Brown has similar stuff. The guy they got back in the Robertson trade, a lot of the pitchers, especially the first 2 that they drafted as well. Are you seeing just a trend with the Cubs? I know we're going to talk about some other stuff down the road, but just generally with the pitchers that they're looking to acquire, whether it was these previous trades or in the draft, with the type of pitcher that they're looking for, high velo with that sweeping slider, or is that a coincidence, or you think that's part of what they're doing?
The Cubs are what we call a model team. They very much have figured out using the analytical models. This is what works best for us. This is what we're good at developing. And these are the traits we need our pitchers to have. So Cade Horton, Jackson Ferris, both of them fit that same mold. Same thing with Wesneski and Brown, and even a little bit of Gonzalez as well. Like they all have those traits. And it's very obvious to me that it was an intentional choice of this prospect over someone else because they had some of those ancillary characteristics to the breaking pitches, to the fastball, the life on the fastball, and things like that. Very much intentional.
And just to quickly follow up, sorry, Matt, do you agree with, like, do you support that philosophy just from what you've seen?
I do. And it's something where the fastballs, the game has trended towards a high fastball. Right. And a lot of these fastballs
spin rate.
Yeah. And a lot of what the system does, they talk about gyrospin a lot. They're looking to avoid bats. And so they're trying to do something different from what everyone else is doing. Everybody's zigging and the Cubs are trying to zag, and they're finding guys that don't break the mold so that it's more of an unfamiliar look to a hitter. And I think that this is as close as you're going to get to a classic Moneyball thing in 2022, where analytics are in just about every front office. There's not an obvious thing like on-base percentage that you can go out and buy on the market, but you can look for characteristics that are not properly coached for or not properly watched at the big league level. And you can go out and get guys that do those things really well and pretty much count on the league's not going to change their approach just to stop the Cubs.
Right.
And Lindsay, what have you seen from Ben Brown? Because he had a good track record with the Phillies, and he's even debuted in the Cubs system so far, had a dominant performance over the weekend. It seems like, again, trading a reliever for a starter and possibly exciting things up the alley for Brown.
Yeah, and stop me if you've heard this before, 2-seamer and a 4-seamer for the fastball. Okay. And the slider, power slider. So again, it's that fastball, that 4-seam, 2-seam slider combo. But the fastballs sit 95, 96. I think the 4-seamer's a little better than the 2-seamer, but both of them are good pitches. Like I said, power slider, so it's 85, 86, a little bit firmer than a lot of sliders you see. And I think the big thing here that determines whether or not he's going to be a number 3, number 4 starter versus a high leverage reliever is what he does with the curveball. The curveball tends to blend into the slider at times. And because of that, he struggles to throw it. And then sometimes the fastballs for strikes. So a little better consistency with throwing strikes and then differentiating the curveball from the slider. If he can do both those things, you've got a middle to late rotation guy. He has the size, 6'6", 210. He's got, with that 6'6", it's a good angle to the plate, and he's got the weight and the durability to carry the velo into games. It's just a question of, can he get that curveball and the overall command and control a little bit more refined to be a no doubt starter? And if not, you're still looking at a high leverage reliever, probably a closer.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess the last just thing real quick to wrap it up would be the Givens deal with the Mets. I'm not very familiar with him, so just real quick.
I think fans know the least about Saul Gonzalez.
Yeah. So the thing to know about Saul Gonzalez is he's mostly been a reliever. 14 games in 2022 in low A, 1 start, but struck out more than 10 guys per 9 innings, walked less than 3 guys per 9 innings. Fastball was one of the better fastballs in all of low A, 70 grade fastball. So plus to double plus. Secondaries are all kind of a work in progress. He throws mostly fastballs, but he's worked on a slider. And again, it's that gyro slider thing. He's more of that gyro spin, and I'll touch on that in the second segment, but has a lot of the same characteristics as far as the fastball with the velo and the late ride to it. Again, another guy who they went out and they found a lower level guy who fits the model and analytically has the additional things that they've noticed. It's hard to teach this, but we can take a guy who does this and we can make him into an effective pitcher. So someone who may end up being a reliever versus a starter, but very, very skilled, very good at that fastball, and has a good enough slider to be an effective reliever for you.
We just received a brand new product here on Locked On, and the Cubs are receiving some brand new prospects. We'll get into overall impressions of the system coming up next. But first, we want to tell you about Liver Health Formula. Here it is right here, showing it on the YouTube version of the show. Most of us have overworked livers, but now it's easy to rejuvenate your liver health and reignite your metabolism thanks to Liver Health Formula by Pure Health Research. As a listener to our show, you can try Liver Health Formula risk-free today and get a free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Curb Fit is a safe and all-natural appetite suppressant, making it easy to say no to naughty foods. This makes it the perfect complement to Liver Health Formula. Go to liverhelp.com/MLB to learn more. Again, that's getliverhelp.com/MLB to try Liver Health Formula completely risk-free and claim your free bottle of Curb Fit with your order. Go to liverhelp.com/MLB now to get started.
I'll tell you, if Suzuki doesn't start hitting the ball, I'm going to be taking my fair share of Liver Health. You know what I mean, man? So, Lindsay, let's transition a little bit into just your general outlook on this Cubs system, because it is. I actually read an article today. Or Bleacher Nation posted. I think Fangraphs has them, really close into the top 5 farm system rankings, but other system or other metrics don't have them as high in their rankings. So I guess my first question would be, what's your general outlook? I mean, you're an expert on this. Where does the Cubs system rank for you? I mean, I'm not asking for a specific number, but just generally, how do you view it? The depth, the star power, just, what do you view it as?
For me, it's definitely right now in the top third. And a part of that is because there's been such an influx of pitching talent into this organization. And it's very clear to me that the Cubs understand kind of the modern analytical view of baseball, which is you can take a pitcher with good characteristics, good analytical traits that you like, and you can develop him into somebody that's greater than the sum of his parts. But hitters are very difficult to find and make better. They're very difficult to improve on. A guy, for the most part, is who he is. There's a little bit of projection that you get to do. And so they have built this system around pitching. When it comes to those pitchers specifically, they are looking at, like we talked about, those sweepy sliders. They like the slider with significant horizontal movement, a cut ride fastball that has some sort of horizontal vertical movement, gyrospin to some of the pitches where it approaches the plate differently from how a lot of sliders would. They've specifically looked for those traits. And then the idea here is we're going to accumulate as many pitching prospects as we can. You saw the top 2 picks, Cade Horton, Jackson Ferris. Obviously, at the deadline, you traded for 2 or 3 pitchers. Probably could have got a couple more if a Contreras or a Happ would have moved. I'm sure you've already covered that. Yeah. I'll kind of, but
sure, we did.
Yeah. But something where building the system around pitching and trying to uncover as many top pitchers as you can. And if you look at the distribution of them, a lot of these pitchers right now it feels like they're in AA, AAA. A lot of these guys are 23 or 24 guys. And so the idea here is these pitchers can debut first. They can learn at the big league level and polish their games when the hitting depth comes up behind them. When a Pete Crow Armstrong, when a Kevin Alcantara, when a James Triantos, when some of these guys get up to the big league level, the pitchers are there and they're ready and we can contend right away. Kind of understanding you get a window, a 6-year window where a player's cost controlled, but pitchers take longer to have an impact than catchers do. I'm sorry, than hitters do. I did notice for the hitters, there seems to be a thing. You like power guys who hit the ball in the air versus hitting ground balls. That kind of seems to be an offensive philosophy of this system. And then defensively, just guys with versatility, guys who can play, I think about a Morel or, just guys who can play multiple different positions on the field so that you can make a lineup that covers all your bases, literally, and has a good chance of being successful against the opposing offense. So a strategy and a system there to how you set up the farm system.
Matt, let me just ask a quick follow-up. I'm sorry. This is the fan in me.
Yeah.
Transitioning over to the position players, and you could just give a short answer on this. You don't have to, over defend yourself. We trust you. You know more about this than we do. I'm going to name you 5 position players in the Cubs system.
Okay.
And I would like you to tell me if you had to choose one.
Okay.
In your system, one. Okay.
Okay. I get one of these guys.
You get one of these guys. You get to pick. You get to pick out of these guys, and just give a brief reason why. Because I'm interested. Because the reason I ask is the Cubs have some really deep position players, but outside of a few, there's not that that Francisco Alvarez blue chip. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm just curious. So I'm going to say Brennan Davis.
Okay.
PCA. James Triantos.
Okay.
Kevin Alcantara. And
Christian Hernandez.
And Christian Hernandez. That's the 5th.
Christian
right?
Hernandez.
Thank you,
Okay.
Matt. I totally forgot that, Matt.
So I get one of those 5 as they are right now.
As they are right now. Who I'm basically asking you
who could be the blue chip.
Yeah, who could be the blue chip? Who would you say is the top prospect in the system? Is really a short way of asking the question, right?
Right. So my answer is actually not going to be the chalk answer, because the chalk answer is going to be either Brendan Davis or PCA.
Yeah,
that's what everybody's going to give you is one of the two. Yeah. I'm going to give you, I love a Pete Crow Armstrong. I mean, just up front, I love a PCA. I am a big believer in what he does. If I'm picking one guy, I am shooting for the absolute highest possible ceiling. Give me Kevin Alcantara.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. He's got as much upside as anybody in this system. We throw around the words 5 tools a lot.
I love it.
There's not many guys in any system that are seen as 5-tool guys. Davis, PCA, I think Alcantara is a 5-tool guy. Big boy, 6'6", 205, obviously, but
19.
Yeah, only 19 plus runner. I mean, he's got his weakest tool is probably his arm, and his arm's still above average.
Right.
Somebody who I could see him playing anything from leading off, like a Ronald Acuna, not his game, but I can see him doing it.
Sure.
To batting 4th or 5th, being your cleanup guy and getting you, if he hits his potential, getting you 30 to 35 home runs. When you've got that big body and that big swing like that, I mean, plus being receptive to coaching like he is, if I had to pick one guy looking at the absolute ceiling, give me Kevin Alcantara.
I like that answer.
Let's go. Let's ride with, we'll call him KA from now on.
KA. There we go. It's hard not to pick the guy who we know him as the acronym because he's so popular.
Right.
It's hard not to pick the acronym. I love PCA.
Well, we love that you said PCA. You're a part of the show now.
Yeah.
And who else is? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, we try to give the people what they want here on Locked On MLB Prospects.
100%. And we also know, and again, going to go over what Blue Nile could do for you, as we will get into some more prospects coming up next. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. Whether it's wedding jewelry or everyday fine jewelry, Blue Nile has an anniversary sale going on right now. You can save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece of jewelry bling. Go to BlueNile.com today. Once again, Lindsey Crosby from Locked On MLB Prospects is our guest today here on a crossover episode of Locked On Cubs. Our first few weeks with the network, Lindsey, we read your promo at the end of each episode, so we're excited to have you here in the flesh and blood.
Appreciate that. Checks in the mail.
Yes. And to close out today's program, we did want to get to some prospects that maybe fans don't know too much about.
Okay. One, every system has to have this guy. And it's the corner infielder with just the stupid amounts of power that the question is, will he make enough contact to make it useful or not? Right. I'm a believer in Matt Mervis. Okay. So Matt Mervis, first baseman, He's in AAA right now, 288, 344, 576. Only 3 home runs in 15 games, but 14 home runs in 53 games in AA. That Iowa ballpark is not an easy ballpark to hit home runs in. But no, I am a believer in what Matt Mervis can do offensively. And the fact that you got him as an undrafted free agent in 2020, this is the thing that we're seeing. The teams that had, this goes back to the organizational philosophy, the teams that had the models, the teams that knew the attributes that they were looking for were able to go out in 2020 and get a lot of really good talent that would have cost a lot more money had there been a standard draft. He was a guy, he would have been drafted in any other year. He would have cost a lot more than $120,000. But Matt Mervis, guy I'm a big fan of. Daniel Palencia. So Daniel Palencia, he was part of the Andrew Chafin deal last year with the A's.
Okay.
But he's got one of the better fastballs in the system. People who listen to my show a lot know that I don't do a ton of comps because I feel like comps sometimes give you unrealistic expectations of what a player might be.
Sure.
But I can compare his fastball to another pitcher to give you an idea. Aroldis Chapman is the comparison for the fastball.
Heard of him?
Heard of him.
Yeah.
He hits 102 with the fastball. The slider's a plus pitch. And the real question we have for Palencia is, will he have enough command and control to start, or will he be a reliever? If he's a reliever, he's absolutely your closer. Strikes out almost 12 guys per 9 innings, but he walks just over 4 guys per 9 innings because of the slider inconsistency, and sometimes
which is a common thing.
That's a common thing behind those power arms, especially a guy who's only 21, 22 years old.
Right.
But someone that I absolutely love. And fun fact, if you go look him up, half of the prospect websites for some reason has him listed as 5 foot tall and not 5'11". I don't know which website made the error first.
Typo.
Yeah.
They had a typo with Morel too for a while. They listed him at like 5'11", 145 when he came up. He's like 200 pounds easy.
Yeah, it's one of those things like one website made a mistake and everybody else has copied them. Right. And so I don't know who made the original mistake, but he's not 5 foot tall. He's 5'11". Yeah. But Palencia is a guy that I like. And then if you want to go kind of a deep cut, Jeremiah Estrada. So another pitcher, he just got promoted to AAA. He's appeared one time. He's just pure reliever. Through 13 innings in Tennessee. I got a chance to watch him when Tennessee came through near where I am. But almost 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. Fastball can hit 99. The reason a lot of people haven't heard of him is he's only thrown 40 innings since the 2017 draft for different reasons. I mean, whether it was injury, not having a 2020 season, Tommy John, things like that. But he's already thrown, he started off in high A this year, and he's made it all the way to AAA already. I'm rooting for him to get a shot at the big league level before the season is over.
Oh, that's something to watch for. Anything to watch this season, our listeners want.
Yes. So Jeremiah Estrada.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, through 23 innings in high A, through 20 innings in AA, and is now in AAA. And somebody, like I said, call him up towards the middle to end of August, give him a chance to test his stuff at the big league level and see how it works. But a guy that has he has explosive fastball, and then, like we've talked about, he's got that gyro kind of power slider. Same thing. He fits the model. He's finally healthy, and he's looked fantastic.
Cool.
Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Can I ask one more? I just want to do one more follow-up because real quick, I've talked about on this show, and you did mention this off air, but I've talked about it on this show. This will probably be my third time mentioning it. I'm a really big fan of Alexander Canario, and I think he's got a really good chance to. I mean, it's not like people don't know who he is, but people know him, and just that deal in general, Lindsay, the Bryant deal. Just really quickly break down Canario, and more importantly, what do you think of Caleb Killian? Because it felt like he was a little bit under the radar when he got here, and then he kind of exploded on the scene, and then came up through one really impressive outing against the Cardinals, and then it was just kind of a disaster, and they sent him down. So just quickly break down, do you think he could be a part of the 2023 rotation?
So I guess first would be Canario first.
Yeah.
I actually, he was the fourth player that I had listed on my deeper prospects. And I was like, well, he was in the deal last year to know who he is.
Yeah.
Fantastic bat speed. So,
Right.
I mean, incredibly fast swinger, great torque. His issue is plate discipline. He just has to work on not chasing, frankly, crap. I mean, he'll swing at a lot of stuff, and he's got.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you can see when you look at his strikeout totals. You kind of look at what he's done this year in Double-A. But a guy that he absolutely has to fix that. But if he does, somebody aggressive defender plus arm, I see him being a very, very good right fielder if he can fix that plate discipline thing. Caleb Killian is, I think he's actually he's up right now, isn't he?
He's with Iowa right now.
Okay.
He's been up a couple times.
A little bit, and he didn't look that great when he was up.
No,
but
that's an understatement.
I'm still a believer. The thing is, he picked up a ton of velocity last year. So from when he got drafted out of Texas Tech, to last year, his velo's improved significantly. He sits 94, 95. He can touch 97, 98 with it.
Yeah, right.
But to go along with that, it feels like his thing is still more of a pitchability pitcher than just a pure stuff. He has to have the curveball. It's a plus pitch, but he has to have the depth on it. It has to be landed in the right place. He's got to get the changeup to blend in with the fastball. And then his big thing is he messes with what the fastball looks like, right? He'll give it cut, he'll give it sink, but it doesn't always do what he wants it to do. And so provided he can kind of get that to be a little more reliable. I mean, there's a big difference in you want this pitch to cut and it sinks instead. And now instead of missing high and inside, you missed middle, you know? Right. So if he can work that out a little bit, which I think he's going to do in Iowa, he has the stuff to be possibly a middle, but probably a back of the rotation guy. I like the fact he can go deep. I watched him in the College World Series 2 straight years. I think he has one of the best win totals of any pitcher to ever come through Texas Tech. He can go deep into games. It's just a question of, can he get a little more control on that fastball when he tries to manipulate it? And can he get the curveball to be more consistent when he's trying to land it for a strike, especially when he's trying to go backdoor with it?
Sure. Awesome. Thank you, man.
Well, a lot of good information from Lindsey Crosby today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This was
that was amazing.
First time, not the last time.
No.
Excited to be here and excited to have you guys as part of the network.
Appreciate that.
We appreciate that. Yep. All right. For Lindsey Crosby and Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This has been a crossover episode of Locked On Cubs along with Locked On MLB Prospects.